Hi everyone, and thank you for joining our ecosystem Fireside chat. We definitely have fire here, and we hope to have some chat as well. We specifically discussed that 4 Estonians in one studio. We hope to get chat going as well, even we are usually very brief and straight to the point. It feels to me already a bit of Christmas magic that I wonder if it's actually the first time in our history to have all ecosystem behind one table and discussing the topic. So we have Startup Estonia here, who is taking care of the ecosystem development. We have founders. Martin is representing. We have angels. Ivo is representing, and I'm Margus, representing a venture funds ecosystem. So, and then we are trying to do something extraordinary for Estonians. We try to look happy and be happy, thinking about what Estonia has achieved. And for that, we really need to zoom out and to take a kind of bigger picture, zoom out from current situation, zoom out from politics. And we might even go into the kind of ancient history of Estonian startup ecosystem going back to Skype. And then actually we might try to do something impossible to predict future 10 years from now. It is well said that quite often we overestimate the short-term trends and short-term events, and we so much underestimate the long-term ones. So we are taking this kind of impossible challenge to imagine what's in future. But first of all, how about few intros? And Eve, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. My name is Eve. I'm quite new in this ecosystem, especially around this great guys like you. I started at the end of August, actually, and to be honest, I don't know half as much as you guys know about the history or even, predict the future. But I think I've got a glimpse of what the let's say the currents are behind the actions or where we are going, or at least I have a hint where we're supposed to be going. And I've actually learned that the ecosystem is really working very closely together. I mean, it could work even closely together. We've seen only now some collaboration projects coming up, which were maybe impossible a few years ago because we're still thinking of others as competitors, let's say. But I'm happy to see that the goals that we've set a few years ago, like for example the 1,000 startups by the end of 2020, that we've exceeded that already, and that the startup visa program is still up and running, and that the model documents, for example, that are free to use, they've been downloaded, only the updated ones, over 25,000 times. So this means that we are actually doing something important, and I think everybody in the team is with a great mission. So let's try to get personal as well. What made you personally excited about joining Startup Estonia? What was that special thing for you? Yeah, this is exactly where I was getting to. The mission in all these people that we are working with, not only in Startup Estonia, but I think everybody here and in your teams. It feels like to work for something that I really see the potential for the economy as a whole, for the country as a whole, for people's happiness as a whole. For me, that's really important to really feel that. Maybe in 3 months I haven't exactly felt it yet, but I think we're moving in the direction where people will be happier and will be able to realize their potential and really grow the country. I mean, we're going to be the Mecca, I'm sure.
Great. We have a vision already set for future. So, Martin, founders.
Yes, hello. My name is Martin, and I'm representing Bolt here a bit, and also the Estonian Founders Society. And when I started thinking about this Christmas and a bit maybe looking back as well to the history, then I saw that it's probably about 20 years for myself I could consider somewhat being in a startup scene. So my first company was acquired in '99, and in the first internet bubble, and the Founders Society was created 2009, 10 years after that, and now we are in 2020, so we have achieved a lot in these both decades, and then looking for the next decade. So yeah, it's actually quite a great point where to be.
What was the funniest moment about exit 99? like I can imagine how much the ecosystem has changed and so on. So anything maybe from that experience additionally?
I think that even, I don't recall if startup as a term was even used at that time. So it was more like internet companies trying to change the world. And it was very much influenced by the US industry, a bit happening in Europe, but even, I don't know, our company was also mostly looking for Estonia and Baltics. We didn't have global ambitions at that moment. So it was a regional exit, not a global ambition as basically every schoolboy is now dreaming about. So yeah, I think that was a big shift. And of course, the company that acquired us was the only listed IT company in the Baltics. So yeah, it was very, very interesting times and a lot of learnings as well. The prices went up very fast and then they went down as fast.
Even faster.
Yes. So yeah, that's why it says, at least I have tried to learn that, try to mitigate a bit of risks and not put everything into one basket. So, but I see that the young guys, they don't have that experience and they still go all in, and sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. So yeah.
And now you really are contributing to different baskets. So we don't have only Estonians on the call. You really need to explain what's hashtag Jõhvi. I'm not sure if camera is catching that, but Jõhvi might be and might be something really weird for people outside of Estonia.
Yeah, so ecosystem have been growing well. So when we started the Founders Society, it was 10 years ago, and now we have 150 members. And basically already next year, 2010, when we started the society, it was more for internal networking, for supporting each other, and then maybe, I don't know, crying sometimes if things go very bad. And we really felt that everyone have the same pain. But quite soon, a year later, we felt that we need to start giving back a bit to the community. So then we started Garage 48, which was the series of hackathons. And the reason there was that we really saw that people were going around with ideas, sometimes even business plans in Excel, but they didn't have contacts. And the ecosystem was so young that it was very, very difficult to get things off the ground. And then we did the hackathon series and wanted to show that if we bring different people together, you can really build stuff in one weekend. And on Monday, you have a prototype you can go around. And that was the very first thing. But if we look back, people started asking that, yeah, what's your success stories and how many actual startups came out of it? But looking back, that wasn't important at all. The major value was that we brought different people together and showed them that you can build stuff fast. And then the connections that created, many companies have been later created by the connections from these events. So I think that is a very strong, like a baseline for overall the society. And then moving forward, then that I would also call Garage 48 even a bit of like education project and educating the society. But now a few years later, we started looking more in education. So we started the education fund, which was €1 million philanthropy fund and supported by 30 tech founders. And what I like most is that most of them actually pledged their own money, not even the company's money. So I think that's a strong signal that people are willing to really commit the fully money that they have paid all the taxes, and then they put it back to education. And now this autumn, we really announced something next, which is how long you can fund different projects, but we thought that we should make our hands dirty and really start the school ourselves. And we now plan to do 200 students coding school to Jõhvi, which is two-sided projects. Jõhvi is a smaller town in eastern Estonia. So we really want to give back to that part of Estonia to bring them into the ecosystem. We see that Tallinn and Tartu, the two biggest cities currently we have, they are really in the ecosystem. You have weekly events, a lot of people going around, their eyes are bright and they are trying to conquer the world. But if you go to these more far parts of Estonia, then we can see that let's say the inspiration is not yet there that much. So that's why we created that initiative. But yeah, we can maybe discuss that a bit longer, the intro. Maybe.
But still, have you figured out yourself why do you do what you do? You have contributed really a lot, and I guess it's not only about money. Definitely not about money. It's something much bigger you have in mind. So have you thought about it really?
I don't know that well. I think maybe it's that people have different types of people or aspirations in their life, and I feel that I'm maybe more person with a social nerve. So even in 2000s, I besides working anywhere, I was constantly joining different youth organizations, charity organizations, and trying to do stuff. And I joined JCI Estonia, which I felt that it was a commercial, somewhat business-oriented organization, but I found out that it was more about charity and doing business wasn't that much in their interest. So that's why I quit, and we started the Founders Society, which was much more building the ecosystem and really doing that. So I have seen different sides, but I think it's maybe just my personality. So I try to balance work and then volunteering stuff. I don't know. That's my
it's
dream.
your DNA. Don't fight is your DNA.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Angels.
Yeah, my name is Remmelg. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, 28 years as entrepreneur. I've exited many of my businesses. So started angel investing 18 years ago, 2002. Failed a lot, really a lot with angel investing. And now serving as a president of Estonian Business Angel Network. We have 170 angels in EstBAN. It's non-profit, so we join the angels, bring the deal flow, educate the angels, educate the startups, have different programs to help the startups and this industry. So I'm also serving as a venture partner for a Finnish venture fund, Superhero Capital. We invest into Baltic and Finnish startups. So this year we have already announced 2 investments into Estonian startups. And some Lithuanian, Latvian, and Finnish startups as well. Yeah.
So if you look at the kind of angel group we have in Estonia, it's really wide and so many different characters, so many different backgrounds. Yeah. What you would say? What is the kind of the majority of angels have as motivation? Why they're doing angel investments?
I think there are many motivations actually. So and I think pinpoint 2 of most of them or most important of them. One is also, of course, giving back. Giving back what they have learned. So if you're doing really well and you have made a lot of money, so that is enough money for your children and for everybody, for yourself, so you would like to give back both in money and knowledge wise. So that's at least what drives me. And of course, sometimes you do good bets, I would say bets, into startups, and you make some nice returns. And that's also important. So then you have more money and more experience to give back.
I lately read one angel was saying that I made like 100% returns this year. on early stage startups.
Yeah.
And it felt purely return driven. Can you be a like awesome angel being purely return driven? Nothing else?
I think it's probably, yeah, of course you can. So there are different people, as Martin said. But I think it becomes too stressful. It's like buying lottery tickets and thinking I'm return driven on buying lottery tickets. So it doesn't really work out. So you have to be giving back, because if your angel portfolio is maybe only 10 or 20 companies, so you may actually make only loss with your portfolio. It's not enough diversification. So therefore, if you only expect for returns, so then you're feeling miserable.
Yeah. So, and I'm Margus, chairman for Estonian Venture Capital Association. We are a group of venture capital and private equity funds. And most of all, we work with the funding side of the ecosystem. So the terms like Baltic Innovation Fund that has created a number of funds for our region is something we have worked actively. It's already second round of Baltic Innovation Fund, and it's a kind of extraordinary example in the world where three governments come together and create with European Investment Fund a joint fund to act on the same purpose. For politicians and governments, it's always what I get out of it. What can I tell to my taxpayers? And we have been able to leave that question aside and develop the region as whole. And then right now our key focus is really to make the Baltic and Nordic ecosystem more integrated. It works super well on startup level. It works very well on funds level. So you are part of Finnish fund and sharing deal from Estonia. But on the LP side, investors who invest in funds, the market is very fragmented. And obviously it takes time to develop the market, but there are many benefits if the market is less fragmented. And you can think of economic downturns. If things get hard, many investors pull out of funds. But the more integrated the region is, the better it absorbs basically the shocks. And then in Estonia we have pension fund reform ongoing that we might not feel it yet, but it has a risk of wiping out many funds from the region, because pension funds have been active investors, and controversially pension funds have made and are making returns for Estonians. I think most pensioners don't think that they have investment in Bolt, or they are kind of shareholder in Verif, or in Pipedrive. So and it is definitely something we need to address to understand that the local capital, we need to make it sustainable, not only in angel phase, but in the fund levels as well. Great. So some say history is repeating itself, and we might agree or not agree. Let's try to go back to Skype, and maybe to discuss a bit like, did we understand what happened, and is it possible to predict something for future from now on based on what happened in the past? And then we sometimes we don't understand. And I can be the fool to explain it. So I actually bring another example. I was in Ministry of Finance when 9/11 happened, and I looked at it and I remember actually politicians and minister at the time as well. Okay, well, let's work on state budget. It's something happened. We didn't immediately understand actually what happened, and it took a few days to understand that it was significant. And when Skype exit happened, I was in Estonian Energy. I was responsible for every single electricity interruption here in Estonia. Very unpopular job to have. And then I read like, okay, it was sold. Some Estonians got some money, to next. I didn't understand the importance of it. How was about you? Do you remember where you read about the news, and what did you what did you conclude out of it? Does it mean anything for future? Like, what is the impact? And now we consider it as a kind of main catalyst for our ecosystem. Yeah. Do you remember the time?
I don't remember the time exactly where I was at that moment, but I was returning back to my position in a hotel where I worked as a hotel manager, and I had just come out of my child leave. So I don't think I was really paying attention to more than, can I still do my job?
Yep.
Can I still handle work life? I don't think I had any more thought about it. But now when I try to put it in perspective now and think about like, where are we now? Am I getting ahead of things? Is that the next question, or can I already?
Maybe a few words.
No, just, to think about, for example, where the startup ecosystem was then, where we just started to learn that, okay, startups need their own regulations, need their own kind of system in the general economy, because the rules of the traditional economy don't work. So now I'm just kind of thinking, we can talk about later on, maybe we're again in the same kind of stage where we need to build not a new ecosystem, but maybe we do. We need to create new rules, I think, to have a, better quality ecosystem, to create more, science-based companies, for example. Maybe we're back in 2010 in a way where we need to start kind of creating new rules again.
It's a very good point. So actually we might need to understand that so much needs to be redefined, what's happening now and how it defines our future. So we definitely will have a discussion on that as well, how to define the rules.
Yeah, for me, Skype was just a place where I chatted, and I don't think I was really paying more attention.
Ivo, did you get more out of?
Yeah, actually, I worked in 90s in Finland for the Swiss telco Ascom. It's like Alcatel was in France and like Siemens in Germany. So, and I was really deeply in this communication field. So then different internet communication applications popped out, and it was possible to just like pick people from the list that from Australia or something, and chat with them over the internet, just talk. And then I was seeing how it just didn't work. And when Skype came out, so I thought, wow, that is something. That must be really something, because you just click the button and it works. No configuration, nothing. It just works. So it was amazing. So I was really following their progress from the day one, and applied to work there when there was less than 20 people. So and of course I worked on the same field myself as well.
You didn't get the job.
No, but I talked to the founders. So it was really a miracle for me. And when eBay finally acquired Skype, so then the first calculation what I did was, how much did eBay pay for each subscriber? And it was just crazy. So I thought, with what part of their body they make their calculations? I mean, can it be true? I mean, and I was really happy that a big chunk of that money actually came to Estonia. And I knew from the day one that a lot of this money and this expertise that has been created comes back to the startups, and it starts booming here. So yeah. I had really good memories with it.
Martin, you might have special relationship with that event.
Yeah, I joined Skype in summer 2005, and then the eBay acquisition happened about 6 months later. So of course, it was quite sudden for us, because everyone was just like gearing up to build something, and but of course the terms and everything exit and things like that were not common for people. Everyone was just very energized. The team was great. The vibe was very cool. We were growing all the time. I think the enthusiasm was the main thing, and the team got more and more international. And then, suddenly we were invited to a conference room and said that, okay, now we have a news. We have a new owner, and
you had no clue about it, no rumors, nothing inside.
Of course, little bit. We knew that we saw some things happening, due diligence and things like that. And of course, some people knew a bit more. But I think by that time when I joined, Skype had 60 people. So by that 6 months, they probably hired another, 100 or so. So it wasn't that big of a company still in terms of people. But we were growing really, really fast. And I think that was quite sudden, and of course paperwork, what is options, how do they work, all of that was a lot of unknown things for people, but I mean it was, looking back, of course you can make much more relations, but and then see the effect. But outside of Skype, I would say that the ecosystem was basically non-existent. So we didn't have investors, we didn't have angels. Basically it was just almost one company. So Playtech was also roughly growing on the same time, but they were basically two big tech companies in a sense that they wasn't that much. Even startup term was still new to the society. Yep. And all of that. That happened about 5 years later on. So I think it's cool. But if I look maybe regarding this year, so I would say that from Skype exit, the 4 founders, they made probably about 100 million or so, and the employees as well, some tens of millions. And if we look at this year with Pipedrive exit, we can calculate, plus we have 8 exits this year. So we can consider that about 300 million of capital probably are coming to Estonian founders that can come back to the community. And then during Skype times, it was 100+ million. So sometimes you have these very good years that a lot of capital
sounds like 1 billion in 10 years from now or sooner.
Yeah, if we can keep that growth, because our ecosystem is growing 30% a year, and it's for sure it's the fastest growing industry we have in Estonia. And
but what if you say first and to use same question, and I think it's maybe it's fundamental to understand, was Skype luck or something behind it was systematic, that some type of Skype was coming up anyway? So is it luck or something systematic behind it?
I think a bit of both. Our position, or what is it, geographical position being between, Soviet Union and the Nordics. I think that is something. So we were more closer to the Nordics than I would say Latvia, Lithuania, or Russian St. Petersburg. So I think that created more tight relationships. And then if we see then in case of both Skype and Playtech, the founders still came from abroad. The business side and the technical side was in Estonia. So we had a very strong educational background and technical skills to really build something great, but we were lacking maybe the vision and that side. So if in these 2 companies, those 2 were met, and somehow I think it all came from foreign investments. So that Tele2 was investing in Estonia and trying to do internet portals. They saw that the talent of building new stuff here was great, and then if Niklas saw that, then it made him to believe that it's a great place. The cost and quality ratio was very, very good. So the salary levels in the Nordics are higher, or that time were probably significantly higher. So I think it all somehow made sense. But of course, luck is always there, and timing as well. So those are constantly important things to really be part of the success. So that's my view.
Yeah, maybe to add, I think we're, as a nation, a stubborn people, and we have that in our DNA. Nobody tells us what we can or cannot do. That's, I think, still there. I think that's our great natural resource, and we don't care if there are more Skypes in the world.
Maybe other founders give up faster if things are not working, or Estonians push it. We have many founders that are pushing it years and years and years until they can get.
It's very significant difference, and it happens very often when you hear some founders from US. They are telling you what they are doing. And Estonians on the stage are saying what they are trying to do. Okay. And it's constantly, it's like, we are trying. And we are not saying we are doing, but we are trying to do. So this is something I have noticed like systematically on the stage.
So the self-confidence is not that high, but the aspiration or like a strength internally is strong. So
maybe it's what inside. It's not the words you say, but it's what you are really doing. So.
And we are really going against the US wisdom of failing fast. We keep trying. So in US, the common wisdom is fail fast, start something new. But we one of the best exits out of Skype co-founders' family office was a company that basically failed 3 times. UK-based company 3 times with kind of recruiting, 3 times with business model, and then suddenly it took off. By US wisdom, they should have shut down it
few times already. So
3 times, 3 times already, and we as well. We keep trying. So it's of course something different and to be seen how well it works.
Maybe to expand on that, I was just wondering before I came here if trying to do one thing and keeping your resources, keeping your talent maybe locked in this one idea for a long time, is it healthy or not? I mean, what I think behind this fail fast is that you kind of recycle and resources. You try and you do everything. And I mean, is that a threat to us? I mean, should we try to restart our thinking somehow?
There's something I have had in my mind about that is 2 things. For investors, one of the most critical questions is when do I follow on? When I stop investing? And there have been 2 things in my mind in early stage. One is, does founder believe still himself, herself? And are we still learning something new? Like, are we, and these have been the kind of indications if to potentially follow on or not. But Ivo, do you consider it luck, or do you consider it still trying to understand? And then we head into even more complicated questions.
Yeah, I think the most important not feature, but the skill of the founder is to recognize when the opportunity is ahead of him. So it's not that opportunities do not or are achieved through the hard work. Hard work is of course essential. If you do not do anything, so nothing happens. That's for sure. But it's when you recognize the great opportunity. So that's the great skill. Because you have always a lot of choices ahead of you. So which one you choose actually defines your future. And what I've seen among more successful entrepreneurs is that they are always saying yes, because you have always opportunity to say no afterwards. But if you don't know if that opportunity brings you success, so you have to see it closer. So you say yes, and whenever you find that it doesn't work out, then you say no and take another opportunity. So it's like constantly looking for the right path to future. And when you talk to the founders that have achieved success, so nobody has said that no, it's only hard work. Luck is not part of it. It's both. It's always both. It's following the opportunities and a lot of hard work to make it happen.
Now let's try to understand what happened after Skype and Skype itself as well. the success stories what we have had, it's really hard to define how we have been able to be successful in areas where it has happened. If you take Skype, messaging and video calling was available at the time. If you take Pipedrive, Salesforce and 1,000 other CRMs were out there. And Martin, please particularly explain Bolt, where Uber was like conquering the world, and Didi and everybody else at the time. Every VC had their ride-sharing app. So in a way, we don't have systematic we don't have strong vertical. We are not like cybersecurity specialists constantly producing, like maybe Israel has a bit, and then few other countries where there is a strong, like computer vision in Hungary, for example. We have nothing like that. We have very opportunistic approach. Can you explain how we have been able to break through in super competitive areas? And should it be the way for future as well?
I think a few years ago when we analyzed, it felt like the B2B was basically the segment for Estonians, that we tended to have more companies in that space. So if we look at now, then Veriff is in that space, or Pipedrive as well, and then several others. So we have lots of SaaS providers that seem to be doing pretty well. But of course, Skype was still a consumer product mainly. Us as well, it's even Bolt is a or two-way marketplace or three-way, whatever how you call it. We have clients and we have drivers, and it is a complex model in that sense that you need to grow both sides. But how we have managed maybe to keep it, I would still say that. Maybe even no matter the industry, I think it comes down to the founder. So that you need to have extremely strong founder to make the success happen. So I would say that if you take the strongest founders we have and putting them to whatever industry, I think they would still have strong options to break through it. So I think if you would take Margus and he would run some other company, within few months he would know the business that well and just logically that he would be able to run it pretty well. I think that's my assumption. So you need to have these very, very good people, and then they can build a strong team, and they can take any bus and drive it to a success somewhere. So that's my belief. I don't know.
Actually, there is interesting statistics. After having very successful story behind you, by statistics, the next startup fails.
Okay.
And third one is payback mission. There is in second startup you feel I know how to make it.
Okay.
And in third one, damn it, I need to prove it again. Okay. Because the second one failed.
So there are guys who have made it in a row, but you say there are more guys who have failed the second time and then potentially third time might.
Because one of the things that is a questionable is there a model how you constantly are able to produce successful startups? So is there can startups produce successfully as in factory line? You know the process, you know every step, and the success is guaranteed. There are assumptions behind it. And actually, at one point of time, AI might be best entrepreneur and investor at the same time. Then we are free to draw nice pictures and dance and do something creative. But until then, humans, I would say, haven't figured out a systematic model for constantly successful startups.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you knew it as a fund, you would only invest into the successful ones, but you have failures as well.
Exactly. But maybe from you as well, Ivo and Eva, how do you see the kind of opportunistic approach to it? And should we actually, it has been under discussion many times, should we have actually theme? like cybersecurity, or some areas where we have so little resources, and we get to that also in predicting the future. Should we be opportunistic like we have been, and rely on somehow extraordinary founder talent and whatever comes up, or should we start moving into areas of priorities? So, what's your take on it?
Actually, I thought about it, and I think as long as we keep a few things in mind, we can do any vertical. The opportunistic side, I think, will be there. It comes down to the interest of the founder as well. As we said, there's also always going to be the personal interest and personal aspiration behind it. But now, basically, we can say that the best opportunity has presented itself to us. The biggest problem of the world, like the climate crisis. I mean, if we think about what a successful startup needs is a thing to fix in the world, an idea, and maybe we can look at it in this way, that if we do anything that will fix the crisis or try and help fix the crisis in some way, let's talk about any green tech, then this will be, I think, half of the maybe successful start. And also working closely with science. I mean, we haven't really tapped into that yet today, but this is going to be the successful, the way to success, I think. Where we bring closer to the scientists and really commercialize what we already are doing. So I think there's a lot of things missing in the infrastructure still to make that happen, but
probably have first examples coming, but it's still slow.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's a very
going.
long-term game, but I think it's very hard to argue that betting on science is wrong.
And if you do anything really science-based and anything really valuable in long term, it doesn't really matter if it's this or that specific sector in the end.
Yeah. Ivo, your take on opportunistic versus theme-based?
I would. Yeah, both are right, actually. Opportunistic I like because, as I explained before about the how successful founders behave. So they are opportunistic and looking for the opportunities that life throws in front of them. Exactly the same. So we must support Olympic winners. So the guys that stand out. So we must support them to help them grow even faster. So because they bring the gold medals. But also I think it's important to understand where industry or economy is going and investing into the future industries. It's also important. So to be competent and to have competent workforce for these things. From the other side, we would ask, of course, and maybe Martin knows better answers to that. So if, for example, let's take the self-driving car industry. So if funds have thrown, I don't know, billions into this to develop the self-driving car that we still don't have today in everyday use. Is a small country like Estonia, do we have enough resources to get success in that vertical?
And optimizing resources for it is a kind of, let's say, investing in startup, it's always risky. Does it work out or not? And having themes on top is actually an additional risk layer. So, for example, some funds have themes and believing that, for example, this area will take off well in coming years. For some of the IoT applications, for example, it's been believed for many years that this will take off. But if it doesn't, if the theme is wrong, and then of course it's hard to argue that, for example, betting on climate change is wrong. It's definitely think we might fail with it. But we absolutely need to try. And Martin, you have been a lot also into impact investing and discussion, green initiatives and impact. So it's hard to see with with some of the themes how to be wrong, but to agree to it on a national level that we take these as priorities is something that's very hard. And what I think we need, all the ecosystem on a private sector side need to be very strongly together and advocating and having vision for it, so that the cooperation with policymakers would be on the same page. But taking it forward, so.
But I'm just
yes.
thinking, if I look at top 30 most funded startups in Estonia, then the variety is actually very wide. So we have platforms, we have stuff with hardware like Skeletonos, Starship,
exactly.
and we have now cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. So Rangeforce had a great round this year. So we have Click and Grow, long time doing hardware. So we have really mix of different industries. So yeah. It's not very clear we have a theme. So it seems like companies are popping up really from everywhere. And I would say it's the wider theme is tech. I don't know. Can we go smaller? But it's tech startups in a sense. And everyone's doing where they find the opportunities. So.
It's a very Estonian way to say it's tech.
so deep, a bit of deep tech, but generally wider tech.
But let's try to imagine future now. And we understand the explosion that Skype caused, and outcome of it is, we can say, are like 5 unicorns. Now we have 5 unicorns, which are 5 nuclear bombs in itself, and in a positive sense.
For a small country, it's
for a small country, for a small.
Actually,
it's a very good way how you put it, because it is potentially can kill the ecosystem as well. If it's not managed well, and you can immediately imagine, the funding, the talent, the resources, like what's needed, and 10 years from now, it can be that salaries, prices are inflated to the level that there is no cost advantage anymore. It has to be.
I think Silicon Valley has the signs already, so it's
absolutely, and is it threat to become Silicon Valley in that sense in our region where it might actually start to work against us, and how to manage it right. I think one of the very sensitive topics to discuss as well is the talent itself. And there are many people in Estonia, in a good sense, who are worrying about preserving the culture, and to bring the example to extreme. What if we have 1.3 Estonians in Estonia, and 5 million extremely talented people outside moving to Estonia? Mm-hmm. Estonia can fit like really many people. How does the ecosystem works under this? Are there limits? To certain things that we want to do. So what's your vision for 10 years from now? Where do we get with these explosions now?
Yeah, I hope that not everyone knows the numbers where we are today, but we have the startup ecosystem has more than 6,000 jobs at the moment, and it's about 1% of Estonian overall working population. And we have been growing 30% a year. And if we look at revenues are a little below billion euros, that's 3% of GDP. So 1% of employees create 3% of GDP.
6,000.
Yes. And so if we multiply that to whatever, in 5 years' time, with the same 30% growth, it would be roughly then 2.5 billion GDP, and that's about 10%. So from 3% to 10, and then another 5 years, it could be 25-30%. So 1/3 of Estonian economy could come from that area if we can keep continuing the growth. So that's huge. So even today, we are same size as agriculture. And in 5 years we could be bigger than forest industry or the other industrial things. So yeah, it's a lot of choices, and in 10 years time, based on that prediction, we would need about 60,000 employees in that industry. And currently, if we look at our universities, then there is about 1,500 tech students enter every year or finish.
So the cap is
quite
50,000. So if I followed it right.
Yeah. So
we don't need one Jõhvi, but we need
quite a lot. So the question is if in Estonia, let's say we could educate, let's say 20,000, be optimistic, 25,000, then we need another 25,000 more people in 10 years time to keep that ecosystem going with a well-paid jobs who add really a value. So the question is, what do we do? Can we, I don't know, double the internal kind of education so we convince more and more people? Currently, it's about probably 10-12% of students start learning ICT stuff. But if we can we, I don't know, triple that? Is it logical? Has any country done that? I haven't heard it would be that big. So probably we still need to bring in some people here. But as you said, millions, I would say it's probably tens of thousands. And if we do it smartly, I think it's doable. So we just need to be smart who we bring here and how it goes. But it's doable. If we add few % of population with smart people, I think it's very well doable. At least the talent side, how I see. But I'm happy to hear your opinions here.
Yeah, ladies start making babies. So that's one side of it. But I think the trend, what we have seen with the startup visa program, so we are getting here people from all over the world, from Southern America and Ukraine, Belarus, Iran, and they come here because of the Estonia. So Estonia is a good place to make your company, to establish your company and make worldwide business from here. So I think we have to support this because those guys that come in here, they are also fans of Estonia. They study the language. They are generally more or better educated than average Estonian because they are entrepreneurs. And they are actually our taxpayers for the future. So who pays the pensions and I mean our government costs in future? So we have to support as long as we are like agile country when compared to old European countries. We have this benefit. So we might not have this benefit for 20 years. Because others may follow, they see the success, so they follow. They try to open their countries, but as long as we have it, so we have to support it. We have to bring help them to come here, and we do not need to afraid it. Actually, the U.S. economy is much ahead of Europe because they are immigrants. They're all immigrants in US. So, which actually shows that those people who moved to US, those were the more entrepreneurial guys and started businesses, etc., etc. So history is repeating itself, as you told before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything you said is right. And talking about the startup visa, we need to speed up the process probably then, because since 2017 until now, about 2,500 plus people have got the right to move here or already gotten here. They are not all here probably yet, but so yeah, talking about the numbers we need, it's not enough to have the startup visa in motion. But when I think about in general, I think we need a really good international university. Like in my vision, in 10 years, there's one flagship university with a really great international program, which attracts people already earlier on. And They get a really good education. Plus, they see the society here. They see how easy it is to, be entrepreneurs, or how nice it is. We have nature. We have everything. We have the sea. We have clean air.
A lot of land.
I mean, we still have a few square meters free. There's still physical room for more people. So I think what we need to do is open up our non-physical space a bit more. It's all about a decision, and a common decision between all the ecosystem, politicians and everything.
But it's of course a bit of joke, but really a well-educated person wouldn't found startup. So one funny guy figured out that success probability for unicorn is 0.0000000. It was 7%, I think.
Okay.
And the probability is so low. Like, why would you? So and then we have been, and again looking at the kind of opportunistic ideas what the Estonian founders have made. Some could say like they're kind of naive in the beginning, like how they believe that they can break through, and they've been able to break through.
But our statistics probably is different. So if we look at ours, then what we have, we have 1,000 startups, a bit more. Then how much you need? You need 100 ones to do an A round, and then you need 10 of them to do the C round, and then you need one probably can get to the unicorn. So, but we have managed to outbeat that pattern so far. So and
we need to sequence the DNA of Estonian successful founders and figure out if it's in DNA or not in reality.
Yeah.
But on the topic of immigration and smart people coming working in Estonian startups, there's been a lot of debate also with public sector and government on that topic. So overall, I think we have managed quite well making it happen. Obviously, there are always risks on the way, and you need to listen like all parties. We cannot be selfish on that idea. But moving on funding side. So like you said, 100 million plus was from Skype. Now it looks like 3 million to 500 million coming in now or soon. How does the kind of angel market would look like in future? And it's already, I hear already now that some angels are complaining that, see successful founders, they pick all the deals what they like. And so many who would like to invest in startups and get the experience and to build a broader base of angel funding are left out. So do you think we should let the market say what it is, or we should have consciously in mind the idea of developing the market in a positively balanced way, and founders having that?
So you should limit the tickets of bigger guys, and then having more syndication law that you need to bring in more wider groups. So
not even as a law, but as we kind of build the best practice and vision for future to keep the kind of reasonable balance and fast growth in mind. What are the risks? Like in immigration, like it's awesome idea to bring in additionally one university that internationally very well known, and have a partly answer to that question and bring very good balance to it. Should we have quota for angels so that we are able to build broad base of experience and developed it in a more balanced way rather than some getting only good deals and some getting only very risky deals. Let's put it in this way.
No, we can't say that. You can't say which startup will become success for sure. It's you can say more or less that which startup will not be successful. So what we are doing in EstBAN when training angels, so we try to teach them how to not make bad investments. So, and there is plenty of opportunities for probably good investments, and time will show which ones are good. So there are opportunities for every investor, and EstBAN statistics I think supports it. We invest 10 million, or our angels invest 10 million every year. So it's a lot more than few funds combined in Estonia, early stage funds. So it is important ecosystem player, and the trend that we have seen during last 5 years, we see a lot of successful startup entrepreneurs and founders joining EstBAN for the deal flow. So maybe in the start it was EstBAN was not really known well for the founders, so they first went to the super angels, and if they didn't get money there, then they went to the funds, and if they didn't get money there, then they came to the EstBAN. But now I cannot say it's that way. We have a pretty good deal flow of very good startups, and we even do deals together with funds sometimes. It depends. And what is the good point is also that we, with syndications, we give the opportunity to invest companies like Future Bolts, etc., with a small ticket like 5,000 euros. So it's not only about money. So in syndication there are 30 angels altogether. So and many nations represented. So and I would say most industries represented. So if the startup needs some know-how, so it's just one email away, and the investors will support him.
So based on what you see right now, you don't see major risk for out 10 years. So short-term versus long-term developments.
No. It's just more opportunities.
Yeah. So what do you think? Would it make sense for our ecosystem to create a joint vision that everybody has in mind? And like for example, the example of angels, bringing more angels, more syndications to build broader base of investors. In terms of talent, how to manage talent and how to bring in what type of talent. Can we develop in our ecosystem the vision for 10 years? What it could be? And more importantly, what do you think, what should be the goal? Is it number of unicorns? Is it like happiness? We will be in competition with Bhutan, who wants to become the most happiest nation in the world. And I think Finland is close to it. Even when you walk in Helsinki, you don't see so many smiling people, but at least by numbers they are. So what could be the goal we would optimize in 10 years from now? And could it be joint vision for the future?
Maybe I can start, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
You probably have defined the vision. So.
As your daily job.
No, because we just finished launching our white paper, which is not really the Startup Estonia white paper. It's the white paper for our joint vision for the whole ecosystem, and maybe it's not so grand, the vision there. It's something more maybe touchable, or maybe it's not very well even. There are not metrics behind each separate sub goal, but in general there are two main things that we'd like to do, and I think we agreed on our last community meeting that this is how most of the community members feel. That number one, people are really able to really do what they want to do, to realize their potential, to really have the startup mindset across the whole population. And the second one is the metric one, which means this coming back to Martin's the GDP, which should like at least triple, quadruple in the next few years. So to do that, we need to really start digging in, like how do we support that growth? What kind of startups do we need? Do we need to really look more into the tech-based, science-based startup ecosystem? What are we missing there to make that happen? Where do we get the talent? One is to bring them in, the other is really to look into what we already have, like people over 50, over 60 that are looking for the new, they're in their next youth stage and they're really wanting to do something with their lives still. We can integrate into the startup ecosystem. More women. I mean, there are a lot of women who really don't know yet what it means. You don't need to be this crazy person with a crazy idea, but you can contribute definitely and be a co-founder. So there are things to.
So you have like elements, bits and pieces, very clearly coming to place to define how the future should look like.
Yeah, there is let's say it's a sandbox or a roadmap which can be changed depending on how we agree, because it takes the whole ecosystem, it takes the whole community to really do that. It's not really something we've written to ourselves so that we can tick off one thing. Yeah, we've done a paper, but yeah, we need to maybe create a more synergized, like we're sitting here today. I mean, have more talks about it and really see which part of the community is contributing to which part, who is best at what. I mean, we talk about diversity in the ecosystem, which is definitely important. Who's going to be the front man of that, or who's going to be the key front woman? Shot myself in the leg. Or who's going to be really the few or many to take care that the foundation for a science-based ecosystem is built. Until then, we will talk about it maybe next Christmas here and be in the same place. So we need to take steps, but we've tried to at least map out the vision somehow. But maybe you can just go shoot higher, go crazy with the visions.
Martin, from founder's point of view, it can be taken also as a dangerous question. Should we have like vision for future in the whole ecosystem? So it has worked well. Mm-hmm. Don't change what works, right? Just, on the way, solve a couple of problems we have and let it be. So to have vision or not to have coordinated action or not to have coordinated action, what's your take on it?
Yeah, it's a difficult question in a sense. So ours as well, we as a company, we have some vision for 10, 15 years. But on the other hand, our plans are very much quarterly or annually. And then maybe, I don't think we have a detailed budget for 2 years. That doesn't make any sense. So, you can actually do annual budget, but you need to review it every quarter at least. So of course, this processes in society, they take longer than specific companies. So in that sense, it would be great to kind of frame the vision how we see it for 10 years. But at least it would be some kind of direction. But I'm not sure we can then draft the project plan, coming back that this month we need to then execute these kind of things. So that's a challenge definitely. But one thing that I'm a bit hesitant, I'm not sure it works, is constantly we're discussing how to bring more science to the technology in that sense, or commercialize it. I see that in US there are success stories, or somehow it's built into it, but I don't know, would it work in Estonia? Maybe it would, but I haven't seen very clear cases. And we have also tried to cooperate with universities, but again, we tend to see that it becomes slower and all of that. In the end, in the longer term, if we see that that's the area we really need to invest, then it makes sense to hire these people in the company. But on the other side, if you look at the US model, then by creating these companies, university gets stakes, and they can build their assets, and then from exits they get more money, they can provide better education, and all of that. So those are what
it's a really tricky topic in a way. In one way, we talk a lot about the kind of impact, climate change, green technologies, and these are very much science-based. And in a way, our ecosystem has been super entrepreneurial. I guess bringing in more science, if we want to address the topics, for example, climate change and similar. At the same time, it is like add-on, but maybe it will not become the main theme, or at least it doesn't break the entrepreneurial DNA, what we have in our culture and what our founders have. So, but at the same time, is it sustainable in a very long term? I had very good chat with one colleague of mine, and then when I talk to Finns, they mention quite often that we have rule for this, we have rule for that, we have rule for this, bird nests, we have rule that you can watch but you cannot touch, and for everything I felt like there are rules in Finland. Mm-hmm. And next morning, one of my partners said, like, in Finland we have generated rules for 200 years. And you Estonians are bloody lucky that you did reset like a few years ago. So, early 90s, we had to think like, what's our constitution? How does it look like? Mm-hmm. And imagine Estonia producing tax rules for 200 years. We could have quite many, because Parliament, who doesn't produce rules, additional rules on top of rules, is
so we should set the rule. There is maximum number of rules. And then...
Exactly. And over time, we get more rule-based unless we are able, in a positive sense, in an entrepreneurial sense, to reset.
Less intuition-based and more kind of...
Exactly. So it's a very tricky topic for us to answer, but it defines a lot of future. So Ivo, do you have... can you help us out here? which way to take?
Vision
for the future or not?
If you look back, so what Estonia did, or Estonian government did in 90s. So today we have fruits of that. So the tax system and this openness that we have. So and we are best of all Baltics, I could say. So. Setting the number of rules, as you said, it's a good initiative, actually, not to become too rule-based. So I've not lived in US myself, but I've heard that filing taxes in US, so you can't do it yourself because it's too complicated. So we don't want to be in this position. So we like to get an email from the tax authority and clicking next and done.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, yeah. Keep it stupid simple. And then we have all entrepreneurs from the world coming here because it's the best place to do your business. So, and that takes us forward. So I think...
I so like actually how you said that we are seeing the fruits of the early decisions now, and then maybe there is parallel to say, of course, politically, tactically, you changes from time to time, and at the moment we see tactical changes, hopefully tactical ones as well. But in early days, Estonian government made a very bold decision, and I think most have not realized it, to privatize everything immediately. It was very entrepreneurial decision because all Eastern European countries didn't do it because it was the most painful one. A lot of unemployment immediately, but we got a lot of foreign capital coming in. And politicians have followed almost always the same very few principles. And there are exceptions from time to time for a good reason, but simple tax policy, period. If it's not simple, we don't do it. Balanced budget, no government loan. And of course, from time to time, you need to be flexible about the rule, but the guiding principles have been always the same, and seeing the fruits what we see right now. So maybe there is something to take from that logic and kind of look back to history, see how it potentially repeat itself, and maybe we have actually something to learn also from the kind of political past, how Estonia has behaved. So we have few questions that actually contribute to the topic, and not all of them we can take, but I like Alvar has asked that all the exits that have occurred recently, are there enough good opportunities, investment opportunities, and to ask it shortly, how do we keep that capital in Estonia as well? It's a really tricky question. Should we keep the capital in Estonia? And are there enough opportunities? I would say looking at the constraint in terms of resources, what if instead we go out? Martin, would you go, for example, to Latvia and found a startup in Latvia? Or any other country where you feel like, you might have better access to some of the resources? What if instead
Probably
of keeping in,
yet,
we go out?
But I think still the conditions today in Estonia are pretty good. So me personally, I'm more patriot of Estonia. So I like stuff here. But regarding funding companies as angel investor, I think that is very much doable, and we see that a lot of foreign startups are already approaching us. But at least I get every week many emails from different companies to really asking if I would do that. But so far I have been very careful on going out, because the activity in Estonia is also that tense that to follow even the local deal flow, and then the rest we should probably hire someone to go through it. But overall, I think it's getting, of course, more international, and we shouldn't that much stop it. But of course, the question, capital. I think every investor needs to diversify its portfolio at least on some sense. So probably investing everything in Estonia doesn't make sense as well, but you should have a decent percentage here. And then depending, of course, what your overall strategy is and what kind of assets are you looking for. But of course, I don't know probably any founders as well that would invest 100% back to community. They still put, I would say, more encourage ones, maybe 20-30% to startups, but the usual rule is 5 to 10%. So as it's also still quite risky, but what's the view from the others?
Should we keep capital, talent, everything as much as possible in Estonia? Maybe twisting the question still a bit.
We don't have Estonian internet and Latvian internet and German internet. We have one internet. It's global, so money doesn't have nation. And if I see good opportunity to earn my dollars in US or earn my euros in France, so I will do that. And the money. The same money it pays for my food, so here or wherever I decide to live. But of course, as long as I've born in Estonia and I do most of my business in Estonia, so I would like to support the local culture, startuppers and language and everything. So that's my heart. But yeah, I would invest everywhere, and that's what I do actually.
So Martin, to your comment of Patriot of Estonia, bringing it to the kind of next or bring additional layer to it. There is a lot of discussion right now in Europe about the fact that most exits are going to US or Asia. And startups
You mean the companies who buy the startups?
Yes.
The capital comes from them.
Yes. So US strategics are buying European ones as well as Asian ones. And European ones don't buy much new technologies, which means Europe is becoming a subsidiary of the world, subsidiary of US, maybe to look at the capital flows most. And there is a lot of discussion. And then Spotify founder actually allocated 1 billion for European startups. So to have in mind like the kind of keeping something in Europe as well versus everything to US or Asia. So what's the difference between being patriot of Estonia or patriot of Europe? Should we have some regional, or let's follow your statement? It's all global. I don't care at all.
Yeah, the European problem is that every country has its own language. So US acts like one market. In Europe, you have several markets, and that's what really has a brakes on in the development of European startups. So it could be much easier to for the startup first to go US than to go to European countries.
But the competition is probably higher as well. So us Estonians, I think that has been a great niche. And learning from Skype as well, that very early on Skype was localized to 27 or 30 languages, and you can see that in the US in some space you have 3, 4, 5 competitors. If you take the same industry and then go to Portuguese language markets, maybe there is no one or maybe there is one. So so us from smaller countries, if you understand that kind of thing, because US mentality is fully out of it. They don't understand localization. If they think English is the world, probably, at least in general terms. At some point they start understanding it, but these are our strengths, probably what we could push.
Sure.
On the theme of going out and why not to go and found a startup somewhere else? I think Skype co-founders helped Estonia to build understanding. So very, very controversially, actually, quite often what happens when you get exit, founder starts to invest locally or regionally. And this is happening a lot right now. Ambient Sound Investments, Skype co-founders investment entity, the portfolio was immediately global, immediately. We had companies in US. My role was help to manage it. We had Asia, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, China. And what you get out of it? You get out of it the understanding how the US funds work. You get to work with US great entrepreneurs. You immediately learn how the kind of US commercial talent looks like, and in Asia, and who to recruit in China. And having that experience in first place, you apply it to smaller region now, versus quite many funds starts locally. The best Estonian entrepreneur is the best one. The best Finnish entrepreneur is the best one. And maybe sometimes that's all great, but sometimes you could build more understanding how does it look like in US. In that theme, maybe we should still consider going more out rather than and thinking about the initiatives more going out rather than bringing in, because coming in there is a lot already happening in that sense. But maybe new twist to it is, what about going out?
I think it's a general, just a general idea, but the borders or the gates, the doors are open both ways. I mean, if we talk about talent, we talk about capital, we talk about the movement of resources. It's not only that we keep our doors open and stuff can flow in, it should work vice versa. So we will, give back to the, let's say, outside world as well. So I think that's where we learn. That's how it should work, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one that would give you wider view. But I'm thinking also going out might be going out of tech. And what if, I don't know how many tech founders have invested into the other industries in Estonia, but maybe they should do that more as well, to bring kind of different kind of mindset into furniture or wood manufacturing or whatever, even milk production. So they maybe not know that much about the specific industry, but some principles that how you think might be very, very different. And that's what we see. Just this spring, we did a pilot where we took 5 Estonian school directors into startups or other companies with, let's say, good management principles. And the wow effect was really, really big. So trying to similar kind of things, but via investments. So yeah, I think that would very much be encouraged. So do some angel investments in startups, but also do some investments in other industries. And maybe this kind of knowledge sharing could boost the rest of economy also. So it has a fresh view or something else. So going out from the industry.
Exactly. On that, we are getting to almost to end, but I see one of the common themes in the questions is also the topic of green. Do you think we should get the green theme as one of the main topics? And from Startup Estonia point of view, you have discussed it. I think there are a lot of green initiatives founders are doing at the moment. And to answer maybe the topics a bit as well, is going green something that is inevitable? We should do significantly more in it, or is it potentially, like when we prepared for this discussion as well, one of you said, now we go so green and then we go to somewhere else, that it is kind of overemphasized message in a way, and we shouldn't run into it. So what's your take on the green element of it, answering maybe some of the questions as well? Is it part of our normal life, or should it like super accelerate on it?
I think it's part of normal life. I think we can't really not think about it or not go green or sustainable. Whatever else we do, this is something that needs to, I think, be the red ribbon or the red thread across everything. Like we talked about ICT being an element across all the sectors. Now we I think should add green or sustainability being something we don't even discuss as a separate topic anymore. I know that it's a mind shift, and it seems like it's something worth. Will my business be still profitable? But it will happen anyway in one way or another. I think it's just an opportunity to either take or not take. It's a decision that you want to be leading this, or you want to be discovering in 5 years that something happened and I didn't take that chance. I think so.
We have even greener fire without burning wood, right?
Exactly. But we are burning some electricity here, and I wonder where it comes from. Martin, Bolt is very green, so at least you emphasize it a lot, and I like what you said, that it's part of everyday life. So one way to think about it is that fundamental changes in the world, they happen when there is private initiative, when thought leaders are really emphasizing it, when politicians are seeing benefit in it, and last, but it comes in always as a very important, that companies see the way to profit from it. So do you think the whole green topic is we shouldn't discuss because all elements are in place, entrepreneurial DNA brings out, or Martin, the green activities you lead are showing that we actually need to do extra efforts still?
I think it's, I don't believe that the companies only or founders only can make the shift. I see that the habits of people is so strong that there should be still regulation is a big part of it to make the shift. And I think Europe is going strong here, hopefully taking the lead globally. So setting whatever rules so that, let's say by 2030, you can't sell, I don't know, any other engines than electric cars or things like that. So if you put these kind of measures in place,
it's part of our life.
That forces actually the industry to react and start working on solutions. If there wouldn't be such kind of, I don't know, deadlines, milestones, rules, then I think the shift would go much lower. So the, what is inertia in English, so that is very strong. So people are so much generally stuck in their old habits that it wouldn't happen, or we need to innovate so much. We just did a survey among people that 90% of Bolt users would prefer green, but only if it's not costing more. People are not willing to invest yet in it. So the overall society is still, they think they take it as commodity. And if us as a company figure out a way how we can do a very good value proposition, then probably people are willing to take it, but it's still not the decision point yet, which service to prefer. So in that sense, it must be the all activities, and Estonia has now the Green Tiger activity, which is very good. Yeah. All 16 companies from all different industries are trying to rethink what they can do in their industry and then share the playbook to the others, because it's often also very wide topic, and then the company owners or directors, they don't know where to start. So if we can come up with principles for every industry, that if you make these top 5 things, you already can can solve majority of the issues, or of course innovation comes with all of that, but yeah, just transforming your companies, we feel that there is some guidance needed, otherwise people are a little bit lost.
And then we absolutely need to keep in mind the kind of values of and understanding of the new generations. My son lately, a few days back, started to explain me the recycling of souls. And I asked, what do you mean? Rebirth. You die and you come here again. Nature doesn't waste souls. It's recycling of souls. So recycling everything seems to be in the mindset of new generation already from a very young age. And that's promising. Great. Our time is actually up. And it has been 1 hour and 30 minutes. Pretty long one for to listen it online and see it online. But we have had most of the time over 200 people listening and many questions as well. I think we discussed few topics that will be still open, but there seemed to be something about the common vision and defining it. And there are ways how to think about it and execute about it. And there are many examples to take from our political past and from our entrepreneurial past, and we all have the same understanding, the same experience to build on it. So I think it has been very good discussion, and thank you so much. I really look forward to this as a tradition. So why not at the end of the year, but of course anytime more often, as we wish. But to have more like stepping back, looking at bigger picture, brainstorming, few new ideas, and so many people joining and sharing their thoughts and questions.
Thank you, Margus, for leading us in this discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. My takeaway would be what you raised, that the good university, I think maybe that's something that we haven't turned that much attention to. And for the next year, we could maybe look into that. So how we can really, yeah.
Next year is maybe too far away. Can't we execute now?
I mean, yeah, we can, but let's figure out the plan. And I think that would be something to take away for next year.
It is absolutely practical and part of the future vision that we kind of discussed. We are brainstorming with pretty good results. Let's see end of next year if we execute it on that. Great. Thank you all for joining. And definitely see you next year as well.
Yeah.
Good Christmas time.
Christmas time.
Merry
Merry Christmas.